The first time I understood my house had started behaving like a device. It was a Tuesday, and nothing was technically wrong. Sunlight sat clean on the kitchen tile, the kind of suburban light that makes everything look innocent. My phone was plugged in beside the fruit bowl, and the battery icon did something that made my stomach tighten. 92%, 91. Dropping while it charged. I told myself it was the cable, the outlet, my imagination, any explanation that kept the day normal. Morning. Ethan called from the bedroom we'd turned into his home office. His voice traveled down the hall like it belonged there. Morning. I called back, automatically. In our neighborhood you return greetings. You wave. You keep things smooth. When I met Ethan, I was 24 and he felt like a promise that didn't shake. A friend's barbecue, paper plates, heat rising off the driveway. I'd been trapped by a man explaining his money theory when Ethan stepped in, offered me a refill, and said quietly, like a joke between us, "I think you deserve a rescue." I remember how my shoulders dropped. He watched my face the way careful people watch weather. He wasn't loud. He wasn't dramatic. He was the one who noticed when my glass was empty and when my smile got tired. He remembered my brother's name, the city I grew up in, the way I hated cilantro. That kind of remembering felt like love. Like being taken seriously. The first years were easy in a way people envy. Flowers on ordinary Thursdays. Coffee while I showered. A forehead kiss like I was something precious. We bought a house in a development where the streets curved gently, and the neighbors smile on schedule. Ethan worked from home before it became normal. His office was a cockpit, 2 monitors, a standing desk, the small ring light that made him look awake on calls. He liked the door closed. At first I liked it too. It gave our days borders. Work, dinner, sleep. The quiet keyboard sound, tap, 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 felt like stability. Control didn't arrive with a slam. It arrived the way a watch band tightens, one notch, then another, until you forget what loose felt like. "I put your shifts in," he said one evening, holding up his phone over pasta. The shared calendar glowed between us, our life sorted into color blocks. My work in blue. His in green. Groceries in yellow. Date night in purple. "This way I can plan around you. It's considerate." Considerate was a soft word that stayed. Soon the calendar wasn't something we used, it was where we lived. If I said, "I might grab coffee with Jenna after work," Ethan would glance at his screen like he was checking the weather. "That's not on the calendar," he'd say, still warm. "Do you want me to add it?" Jenna was my coworker then, bright lipstick on Mondays, sharp opinions, an easy laugh. When I mentioned the shared calendar, she paused with her pen halfway to her mouth. Shared? She asked. "Just to keep us organized," I said, hearing how fast I defended it. Jenna's smile wobbled. "If it works for you." Location sharing came next, framed like a seatbelt. "You should share your location with me," Ethan said while we folded laundry, his hands making perfect stacks. "Just in case. In case your car breaks down. In case you get stuck. I'm not watching you." "It's safety," he added, as if that solved it. He set it up for me because he was good with phones and I was tired. After that my battery drained faster, but I blamed the old model, the apps, my brightness setting. Ethan bought me a portable charger, kissed my cheek when he handed it over. "Now you'll never be stranded," he said. Passwords came like a conversation, not a demand. "I don't like secrets between us," he said in the bathroom, toothpaste foam at the corner of his mouth. "It's not that I don't trust you. I trust you. I just don't trust the world. Give me your logins. I'll store them securely." Securely sounded adult. Practical. I was the kind of person who clicked, agree, to get to the next screen. I gave him mine. He gave me his. It felt equal. It felt like a vow in modern language. A few weeks later, he started doing the budget the way some people do religion. It wasn't my money or his money. It was our goals. He printed a spreadsheet and slid it across the kitchen island like a gift. "Look," he said, tapping totals. "If we tighten groceries, we can hit the vacation fund by May." I tried to smile. Then he pulled the receipt from my purse, wrinkled, warm from the store, smoothed it flat, and his eyes moved down the lines. "Why 2 coffees?" he asked, still calm. "They had a line, so I grabbed one for Jenna," I said, and immediately heard how small it sounded. His smile stayed. "That's sweet. Just put it on the calendar next time, okay? I worry when things are unplanned." He folded the receipt and set it beside his phone, as if paper belonged with the device. The next day I ran into Mrs. Klein while dragging the trash bin to the curb. "Ethan always takes such good care of you," she said, "the way neighbors say safe things." That afternoon Jenna texted, "Want to vent after work?" Before I could answer, my phone flashed a low battery warning. Then another notification popped up, bright and tidy, "Shared calendar, errands, added, 5:30 p.m. I hadn't typed anything yet. Somewhere in those months, his office door started to click shut even when he wasn't on a call. Click, precise, gentle, final. The sound joined the dishwasher hum and the neighbors' sprinklers ticking like metronomes. He asked about my day at dinner and somehow already knew the outline of it. "Did Jenna bring up that new manager again?" he said once. I blinked. "How did you? You mentioned she was upset last week," he said, calm as ever. "Be careful. Some people don't like seeing you happy." It was such a kind sentence on the surface that I nearly thanked him. Instead, I felt something inside me shift, like a chair leg scraping tile. I started leaving my phone face down without thinking. My sister Leah noticed before I did. Leah is 3 years older and has never had patience for my pretending. She visited one Saturday with cinnamon rolls and city energy that didn't match my cul-de-sac. She looked at my phone plugged in again and said, "Why is your battery always low?" "It's old," I said. Her gaze slid down the hall to the office door, closed. Behind it came the patient tap-tap-tap of his keyboard. Leah's mouth tightened. My phone buzzed. A notification drifted across the screen. "Find my Ethan started sharing location with you." Leah saw it and held my eyes. "He started sharing," she repeated, like she was testing the words. "We share," I said. "For safety." Leah nodded once, slow, like she was placing something in a drawer she'd open later. That night Ethan stayed up to finish something. I lay in the dark listening to the steady keyboard rain. Tap. 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 My phone lit up on the nightstand. A notification, softer than an alarm but sharper than a whisper. Calendar event updated. Gym, moved to 7 a.m. I hadn't moved it. I stared until my eyes watered. Ethan's keyboard stopped. In the silence, the office door clicked shut, gentle, final, as if someone had closed it with 2 fingers. Then his voice floated from the hallway, low and affectionate. "Babe?" My thumb hovered over the screen. The battery ticked down another %. "Are you awake?" he asked, and the floorboard outside our bedroom gave its small, inevitable creak. I kept staring at the neat little edit that rearranged my morning without touching me at all, and for the first time I could feel the shape of something around my ribs, silent, careful, firm. "Yeah," I said, making my voice light. "I'm awake." He paused in the doorway. "Good," he said softly. "I was just thinking, we should talk about tomorrow." Ethan didn't turn on the bedroom light. He never did when he wanted something to feel like a favor instead of a request. The hallway glow made his face half soft, half blank, the way a screen looks before it loads. "Tomorrow," he said, gentle. "Your lunch with Leah, what time is that again?" I'd mentioned it in passing. Not on the calendar. A sister thing. Cinnamon roll crumbs and judgment, but still, mine. "Just around noon," I said. He stepped farther in, quiet-footed, and sat on the edge of the bed like a man settling in to care for you. "I put it in the calendar," he said, "so I can move my call. I don't want you rushing." My throat tightened on something small and stupid, the word I put it in. I can move my call. He talked like my day was a shelf he was simply organizing. Thanks. I heard myself say because, thanks, had become the oil in our house. You used it to keep hinges from squealing. He leaned down, kissed my forehead, and I smelled his mint toothpaste. And the gym, he added, still sweet. 7 is better. Less traffic. You'll feel good starting early. I moved it? I asked before I could stop myself. He smiled in the dark. I did. You always complain when it's crowded. The sentence landed softly, but it didn't feel soft. It felt like being held in place by something invisible. My phone screen dimmed again. Battery 18%. I can change it back, he said, and the kindness in his tone was almost perfect. I just thought, why make it harder on yourself? Harder. As if my preferences were obstacles he was clearing for me. It's fine, I said. 7 is fine. Good. He stood, and I heard that small shift of fabric as he turned away. Also, you don't have to meet Leah at that cafe by the highway, he added, casual like it was weather. It's kind of sketchy around there. It's not sketchy, I said too quickly. He paused in the doorway. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I worry. We could pick someplace closer. Or she can come here. Here. Under the polite smiles. Under the sprinklers. Under the quiet sound of his keyboard. Under the door that clicked shut. I tried to picture Leah in my kitchen with Ethan moving through the room like a host. Leah would watch him the way she watched salesmen. She's busy, I said. We'll meet out. Okay, he said, still calm. Text me when you get there. And when you leave. He didn't say because I'll be checking anyway. He didn't need to. When he closed the bedroom door, it didn't click shut. It stayed open a few inches, like he was letting me breathe. The click came down the hall, from his office. One gentle snap, and then the tap-tap-tap began again, patient as rain. I lay there with my eyes open until the sounds became a pattern. Keyboard, pause, a faint buzz, his phone, keyboard again. The house was quiet in the way safe neighborhoods are quiet, the way people like to brag about. No sirens, no shouting, just a faint chorus of appliances and distant traffic that meant the world was still moving somewhere else. In the morning, the calendar greeted me like a boss. Gym 7 a.m. Leah lunch 12 p.m. Grocery run 4:30 p.m. Dinner prep 6 p.m. Everything was color-coded, crisp, clean. My day looked like it had been owned by someone responsible. At the gym I tried to run the treadmill and think normal thoughts, but my phone drained like a bathtub with a hairline crack. I watched the numbers drop between songs. I turned off Wi-Fi. I lowered brightness until the screen looked bruised. Still, 39%. 36%. 33%. A woman in a ponytail beside me, someone I'd nodded at for months without knowing her name, said, "Your phone okay?" "Yeah," I lied, smiling. My smile at strangers was always great. That was my best skill, looking fine. When I got home, Ethan was in the kitchen wiping the counters that were already clean. He looked up like he'd been waiting without meaning to. "Good workout?" he asked. "Yeah." He nodded, pleased. "See? 7 is better." The way he said it was so mild it would have sounded ridiculous to argue with. Who fights about a gym time? Who even notices? That was the genius of it. Nothing was big enough to point at. I went to my purse, pulled out my car keys, and felt something thin and sharp in the pocket. A receipt. I hadn't bought anything. I unfolded it. A grocery store receipt from last night, after I'd gone to bed. Almond milk. Chicken. A pack of batteries. Batteries. My stomach tightened in a way my mind didn't want to name. Ethan walked in behind me without noise. "Oh," he said, easy, seeing the paper. "I ran out last night. Thought I'd handle it so you didn't have to." "Batteries for what?" I asked. He blinked once, just once, then smiled. Smoke detector. The hallway one chirped. It never chirped, I said, and my voice was still calm, but it sounded unfamiliar to me. He stepped closer, put a hand on my shoulder like a steering wheel. Maybe you didn't hear it. I did. It was driving me crazy. You know how I get with little noises. His office door clicked shut behind his eyes, if that makes sense. Something became private. I nodded because nodding was easier than turning my whole life into a question. Thanks, I said the oil again. He kissed my temple. Of course. I take care of you. Leah texted at 11:18, on my way. Don't let him reschedule, my sister. I stared at the message, and a laugh tried to escape me, then died. Leah's words felt like a hand under my chin, lifting my face towards something I didn't want to see. I typed back, he already moved my gym time. Leah, that's not funny. I almost wrote, it's not like that. He's just organized. He worries. He loves me. Instead I wrote, see you soon. At 11:42, my phone flashed, find my, Ethan can see your location. I'd seen it before, months ago. Today it felt like a spotlight. I picked up my charger, tucked it in my bag, and, without thinking, checked my purse again. Receipt. Batteries. The thin paper felt like proof of something, except I didn't know what the something was yet. When I got to the cafe, Leah was already there, eyes scanning the door like she was watching for weather too. She hugged me hard, and I realized how long it had been since someone hugged me without a purpose. You look tired, she said immediately, because she never warmed up first. I'm fine. Leah's mouth tightened. That's what people say when they're not. We sat. We ordered. The waitress called me honey, and I almost cried for no reason. This is what I mean about small facts that land later, the way my body reacted to kindness that wasn't earned. Leah leaned in. Tell me the truth, she said softly. Is he controlling you? The word hit like cold water. My reflex was instant, defend, smooth, explain. No. He's careful. I searched for the safest word. He's protective. Leah watched my face like Ethan had once watched it, but Leah didn't smile. Do you hear yourself? I opened my mouth and nothing came out. Leah took a sip of coffee, steadying herself. Okay, she said. Let's not label it. Just describe it. Little things. What does he do that makes you feel smaller? Smaller. That was the exact word, and my skin prickled. I stared at my mug. The foam had collapsed into a thin brown lake. He keeps the calendar, I said. Leah waited. She had always been good at waiting, at letting the truth trip over its own feet. He moves things, I added. So it's efficient. Leah nodded slowly. Does he ask first? I hesitated. Sometimes. Usually he knows what I'd want. Leah's eyes narrowed. How does he know? I almost said, because he pays attention. Because he loves me. Instead, I heard my own voice say, because he has my passwords. Leah didn't flinch, but the muscles around her eyes tightened. Why does he have your passwords? Because no secrets, I said, and the phrase sounded rehearsed the moment it left my mouth. Leah reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Does he read your messages? No, I said too fast. Leah's eyebrows rose. You're sure? My phone buzzed in my bag like a small trapped animal. I froze. Leah watched me watch the bag. Don't, Leah said softly. Don't check it yet. Just sit. The waitress passed, smiling. The cafe music was soft, harmless. Outside, people carried salads and strollers and shopping bags. Normal life. Safe neighborhood energy even here. My phone buzzed again. I finally pulled it out. A text from Ethan. Where are you? Your location isn't updating. My fingers went cold. I looked up at Leah, and she already knew. Her hand tightened around mine. "What did you do?" she asked, voice low. "I didn't do anything." But my eyes flicked to the top corner of the screen, battery 12%, and then to the settings, the little toggle for location services. I hadn't touched it. The app itself looked different, like it had been tidied. Leah leaned closer, reading the message, and her face changed in a way that made my throat tighten. "He's watching you," she said, not dramatic. Just factual, like saying it might rain. "I share my location," I whispered. Leah's eyes held mine. "That's not sharing. That's reporting." My phone buzzed again. Another message appeared, calm and reasonable. "Just worried. Call me when you can." I swallowed, and suddenly I remembered the batteries. The receipt. The hallway smoke detector that never chirped. Leah's fingers squeezed mine. "Listen to me," she said. "We're going to do a test." "A test?" My voice sounded like someone else's. Leah nodded, eyes sharp. "Not a fight. Not a scene. Just information. You're smart. You like information." I stared at her, and I felt the strangest thing, relief, thin as a thread but real. "What kind of test?" I asked. Leah pulled her phone out, opened something, and slid it toward me. "Turn your location off," she said. "Right now. And don't tell him. Let's see what happens." My heart kicked hard. The cafe suddenly felt too open, too glassy, like anyone could see the screen. Like the polite smiles outside were watching too. "Leah," I started. "Just for 10 minutes, she said. "If nothing happens, you turn it back on. No harm. But if something happens, you'll have your answer." My thumb hovered over the toggle. It felt like hovering over a cliff edge in a place that looked flat. In my mind, Ethan's voice floated up, gentle. "Why make it harder on yourself?" Leah's eyes didn't move. "You don't know him, your coordinates," she said quietly. I exhaled, and my thumb pressed down. Location services, off. A small, clean switch. That was all. A tiny decision that shouldn't have mattered. My stomach didn't believe that. We sat. We waited. The cafe music played. A spoon clinked. Someone laughed at a joke I couldn't hear. My phone stayed silent for exactly 3 minutes. Then it buzzed. Ethan calling. I stared at the screen, and it felt like the house had followed me here. Like the office door had clicked shut in my pocket. Leah didn't look away. "Don't answer," she whispered. The call ended. Immediately, another buzz. A text, calm as ever. "Hey. Did your phone die? Call me back when you see this." My fingers trembled. Leah's face stayed still, but her eyes were bright with anger she was holding in place. Another buzz. Another text. "I just want to make sure you're safe." And then, like the final touch of a hand closing a lid, the next message landed. "Please turn your location back on." My mouth went dry. Leah's hand tightened around mine so hard it almost hurt. "We've been here," Leah said softly. 5 minutes. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message. It was a calendar notification that made my blood turn thin and cold. "Leah lunch, cancelled." I stared at the screen, not understanding at first, because my brain didn't want to. The event wasn't just deleted. It had been edited. A neat gray line through it, like a task completed. Leah's voice went very quiet. "Did you cancel it?" I shook my head, staring. My fingers moved on their own, opening the event details. "Organizer Ethan." I looked up at Leah, and the cafe around us blurred like a camera losing focus. The polite suburban world, the safe world, suddenly felt staged, like a set built to hide the machinery. My phone buzzed again. A new notification appeared, bright and tidy, as if nothing had just happened. New event added. Pick up Ethan's prescription. 1:15 p.m. Leah's eyes flicked to the screen and then back to my face. "He's rewriting your day while you're sitting here," she said, voice steady with fury. My phone buzzed again. This time, a message popped up that made my skin prickle from scalp to wrist. I can't reach you. I'm coming to get you. I didn't answer. I didn't decline the call either. I just stared at the words "I'm coming to get you" like they were a weather alert meant for someone else. Leah was already moving. She slid her chair back, calm but fast, the way she used to pack when we were kids and a storm warning came on TV. Okay, she said softly. Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to panic. We're not going to confront him. We're not going to let him arrive to a scene he can manage. My hands felt useless, floating somewhere near my body. He knows where I am, I said. Even if he doesn't, Leah cut in. You turned it off. He knows where you usually are. That's not the same thing. The cafe door chimed as someone left. Normal sounds felt too loud, like the world had turned its volume up to prove nothing was wrong. Leah grabbed her bag. We're leaving through the back, she said. There's an alley. We'll get in my car. He'll see my car's not at home, I said, because my brain was racing ahead, mapping consequences the way Ethan liked to. Leah looked at me, sharp and grounded. Let him wonder. The word wonder felt radical. We walked, not ran, past the counter, past the smiling waitress, through the back door that smelled like coffee grounds and citrus cleaner. The alley was narrow and bright, dumpsters lined up like obedient soldiers. Leah's car was parked crookedly, like she'd never cared much about rules. As we drove away, my phone buzzed again. Ethan, where are you right now? I turned the phone face down, heart banging. The battery icon flashed red. 6%. Leah glanced at it, then at me. Good, she said. Let it die. Good? I echoed. If it dies, he can't keep asking questions that make you feel like answers are mandatory. We drove in silence for a few blocks. My body felt like it was braced for impact even though nothing was happening. No sirens. No shouting. Just clean streets and trimmed lawns. My phone buzzed again, the vibration weaker this time. Ethan, I'm at the cafe. You're not here. I closed my eyes. I could picture it, him standing politely near the door, phone in hand, scanning faces, already rehearsing concern. Already preparing the story where he was the reasonable one. Leah swore under her breath, not loud, just enough to release pressure. Okay. New rule. He doesn't get access to you today. But he'll worry, I said automatically and then stopped. The words tasted wrong. Leah pulled into a grocery store parking lot and cut the engine. Listen to me, she said, turning fully toward me. Worry isn't control. But using worry to manage your movements is. I stared at my hands. He's never yelled at me. I know. He's never hit me. I know. He's nice, I said, and my voice cracked on the last word because I could hear how thin it sounded. Leah reached out and took my hands, grounding them. Nice is not the same as safe, she said. And safe is not the same as free. My phone buzzed one last time, a weak shudder. A message popped up, almost gentle in its timing. Please answer. You're scaring me. The battery dropped to 1%. I felt a strange, sharp urge, to explain, to reassure, to make it okay. Years of training compressed into that instinct. Instead, I turned the phone off. The silence that followed was enormous. Not peaceful, raw. Like stepping into a room after a machine stops running, and realizing how loud it had been all along. Leah exhaled. Good, she said again. Now we think. What happens when he gets home and I'm not there? I asked. Leah didn't sugarcoat it. He'll be upset. He'll think something happened. Or he'll think you did something, she said gently. I swallowed. I don't want him angry. I know, Leah said. That's part of it. We sat there for a moment, parked between minivans and carts rattling in the wind. A man loaded groceries into his trunk. A kid dropped a juice box. Life kept proving its normality. Okay, Leah said finally. We need facts. Not feelings. Facts keep you from getting pulled back into explanations. What facts? I asked. First, she said, counting on her fingers, you did not tell him where you were. He showed up anyway. Second, he edited your calendar without asking. Third, he attempted to reroute your day when you didn't respond. Fourth, she paused, eyes steady on mine. He came to retrieve you. The word retrieve made my chest tighten. That sounds dramatic, I said weakly. It sounds accurate, Leah replied. My phone sat dark and harmless between us. For the first time in months, it felt like an object instead of a leash. Leah reached into her bag and pulled out a small notebook. I want you to write things down, she said. Not to accuse. Not to confront. Just to remember. Dates. Times. What was said. What was changed. That feels sneaky, I said. Leah tilted her head. Does it? I thought of Ethan auditing receipts. Of passwords stored securely. Of calendars edited without consent. No, I admitted. It feels even. Leah nodded. Exactly. We drove to her place, an apartment with crooked art and no shared devices. The air felt different there, like it didn't expect anything from me. I borrowed a charger, turned my phone back on long enough to text Ethan one sentence Leah helped me craft. I'm with Leah. My phone died. I'll talk to you later. Nothing else. No apologies. No explanations. The response came immediately. Okay. I was worried. Please keep your phone charged. The calmness of it made my skin crawl more than anger would have. I spent the afternoon on Leah's couch, notebook on my lap, writing down things I'd never let myself see as a sequence before. The calendar edits. The receipts. The way my battery drained. The way he knew things I hadn't said out loud. Patterns emerged not like a punch, but like a picture slowly coming into focus. Once you see it, you can unsee it. At 5:12 p.m., another message came through. I adjusted dinner since you're out. We'll eat later. Drive safe. I stared at the words I adjusted dinner and felt something inside me harden, not into anger, but into resolve. Leah watched my face. What? She asked. He's still managing the house, I said. As if I'm just delayed. Leah nodded. That's because he believes you are. The sun was setting when I finally drove home. I rehearsed my face in the mirror of the car, calm, neutral, nothing to provoke questions. The neighborhood greeted me with its polite smiles, porch lights clicking on in unison. Ethan's car was in the driveway. The house lights were on. From inside came the familiar tap-tap-tap of his keyboard. I sat in the car for a full minute breathing. My phone was at 83% now. Charged. Useful. Dangerous. When I opened the front door, it clicked shut behind me. Not slammed. Just clicked. Ethan appeared in the hallway, relief perfectly calibrated on his face. There you are, he said, stepping forward. You had me worried. I texted, I said. Yes, he agreed. After. I hung my keys slowly. Leah needed me. Of course she did, he said, smiling. She's always been intense. Something in me shifted then, quiet but decisive. I saw the path he was laying, the one where my sister was a problem, not a person. I'm tired, I said. He nodded immediately. I figured. I'll warm up leftovers. Tomorrow's gym is at 7. I moved it back to 9. I said. The words hung between us. Ethan's smile didn't drop. It froze, just a fraction. You did? Yes. A pause. The keyboard sound from the office stopped, as if the house itself was listening. Ethan stepped closer, voice still gentle. Why would you do that without telling me? I met his eyes, hard hammering, and for the first time I didn't rush to make it smooth. Because it's my morning, I said. The silence that followed was thick, heavy with recalibration. His eyes searched my face, not angrily, strategically. Okay, he said finally. We'll talk about it. We. The word felt different now. As he turned back toward the office, the door clicked shut behind him, a sound I suddenly understood not as privacy, but as preparation. I stood alone in the hallway, notebook heavy in my bag, and realized something that made my hands shake. I had just stepped out of the routine. And routines do not let go quietly. Ethan didn't come to bed until after midnight. I knew because I was awake, staring at the faint line of light under the office door, listening to the keyboard like a clock that didn't tell time, only control. Tap tap tap. Pause. A soft buzz. Tap 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 again. When the keys finally stopped, the silence felt wrong, as if the house had been unplugged. He slid into bed carefully, the way you do when you don't want to wake someone you also want to monitor. His hand found my shoulder, warm and familiar, and he whispered, "We're okay." Like a prayer, like a command. In the morning he acted normal. Too normal. Coffee already made. My mug set on the counter facing the right way. He kissed my cheek and asked about Leah in a voice that carried no edge, as if last night hadn't happened at all. "Is she doing better?" he asked. "She's fine," I said. "Good," he replied. "I don't like when she stresses you out." He didn't say, "I don't like when she shows you anything." But the sentence had that shape. My phone battery drained faster again, like it knew fear is electricity. 95, 93, 91. I watched it drop while doing nothing. It felt like proof and paranoia at the same time. Ethan moved through the kitchen with gentle efficiency. He opened the fridge, paused, then glanced at the trash can. "Did you throw away the receipt?" he asked casually. I turned my face toward him. "What receipt?" He smiled like I'd made a cute mistake. "From yesterday. I like to keep them for the spreadsheet. It helps us stay on track." The words "stayed on track" had once sounded like teamwork. Now they sounded like rails. "I didn't buy anything yesterday," I said. His eyebrows lifted, a fraction. "Right," he said. "You were with Leah." He said it the way you say you were late, the way you log a delay. Not angry. Just documenting. "I'll check the bank app," he added, still calm. "Just to make sure nothing weird happened. Frauds everywhere." He walked back toward the office, and the door clicked shut behind him. I stood in the kitchen with my coffee cooling in my hands and understood a new layer. He didn't only manage my day. He managed the story of our day. He was always making sure the story had no gaps. At work, Jenna cornered me near the copy machine. She'd been promoted recently, more meetings, sharper shoes, less patience for nonsense. "You disappeared yesterday," she said quietly. "You okay?" "I'm fine," I began, the automatic phrase already on my tongue. Jenna didn't let me finish. "You've been fading," she said. "Like you're here but you're not." She lowered her voice. "Are you being tracked?" The word hit me like a slap made of air. I stared at her. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you flinch when your phone buzzes," she said. "Because you stop talking mid-sentence like someone's listening. Because you used to get coffee with me without needing permission from a calendar." I swallowed hard. "It's just organized." Jenna's eyes softened, not pitying, concerned. "Organized is when you choose it," she said. "Not when it chooses you." A notification flashed across my screen before I could reply. "Shared calendar. Coffee with Jenna. Declined." My stomach dropped. I hadn't opened the event. I hadn't touched anything. It had been created, then declined, like a small door slammed in Jenna's face. Jenna saw my expression. "What?" she asked. I forced a smile so fast it hurt. "Nothing," I said. "Just work stuff." Jenna watched me for a beat too long, then leaned closer. "If you ever need to use my phone," she whispered, "or my office, or just sit in silence somewhere that isn't yours, you can." I nodded, unable to speak. Her kindness didn't feel like warmth. It felt like a flashlight. It showed me corners I'd been pretending didn't exist. On the drive home, I did another test, smaller this time, private. At a red light, I typed Leah's name into my messages, not to text her, just to see the thread. The screen loaded, and there it was, a message I did not remember sending. I love you. Please don't stress me out about Ethan. We're fine. My breath caught. The timestamp was last night, 12:41 a.m. While I was lying in bed listening to his keyboard. My hands went cold on the steering wheel. I scrolled up. There were other little things, short replies that didn't sound like me. Polite. Smoothing. Minimizing. Like someone had edited my voice the way he edited my calendar. By the time I reached our street, the neighborhood looked the same: trimmed hedges, porch flags, Mrs. Klein watering her planter like she watered the illusion. She waved. "Hi, sweetie," she called. "Everything okay? Ethan said you had a scare yesterday." The words punched through me. He'd already told her. Not details, just enough to make the neighborhood his witness. "I'm fine," I said, smiling because I always smiled here. Mrs. Klein's eyes flicked over me with polite curiosity. "He worries so much," she said approvingly. "You're lucky." Lucky. The word sat like a stone in my stomach. Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner. Ethan's favorite. The kitchen counters gleamed. My phone buzzed. New event added. Couples check-in. 8:30 p.m. I stared at it, heart thudding. Ethan appeared as if summoned, calm and affectionate. "Hey," he said, kissing my cheek. "I added something for tonight. Just us. A little reset." "A reset?" I repeated. He smiled. "You've seemed distracted. I want to make sure we're aligned." Aligned. The word was a soft cage. I moved through the afternoon like I was underwater. I cooked because it was expected. I laughed at the right moments. I let Ethan speak about his work, nodding when he wanted validation. His calmness was almost soothing, and that was the most frightening part, how easily my body wanted to slip back into the familiar. After dinner, he cleared the plates and then, like a magician revealing the trick, pulled a grocery receipt from his pocket. "This was in the car," he said, placing it gently on the table between us. "I figured you dropped it." It was my receipt from the cafe day. The one I'd hidden in my bag like a secret. My chest tightened. "Why were you in my car?" He blinked once. "I wasn't in your car," he said lightly. "I leaned in to grab your water bottle. It was rolling around. You know I hate clutter. It stresses me out." He tapped the receipt with a fingertip. "Anyway, this is from the cafe you didn't go to." My mouth went dry. "Leah and I changed plans," I said carefully. "And you didn't tell me," he replied, still soft. "That's the part that worries me." There it was again, worry, like a velvet rope. I looked at the receipt. 2 coffees. 1 cinnamon roll. A tip. Nothing criminal. Nothing dramatic. Just proof that I'd been somewhere without his permission. Ethan leaned forward. His voice stayed gentle, almost pleading. "I'm not trying to control you," he said. "I'm trying to protect us. We have a good life. Why introduce chaos?" Chaos was code for choice. I thought of Jenna's offer. Leah's notebook. The message that wasn't mine. My phone draining like a body under stress. The calendar edits. The neighbor already briefed. I reached for my phone and opened settings, slow and deliberate. Ethan's eyes followed every movement. "What are you doing?" he asked, still calm. "I'm turning off location sharing," I said. Silence expanded between us. His face didn't twist into anger. It reorganized, like a man switching tools. "Why would you do that?" he asked softly. "After yesterday?" "Don't you care that I was scared?" I swallowed. "I care," I said. "But I don't want to be monitored." His smile returned, small and careful. Monitored is such a harsh word. He reached across the table and covered my hand with his. Warm. Steady. You're making this bigger than it is. I looked at his hand on mine and felt the whole marriage in that gesture, tender, firm, unmovable. Let's do our check-in, he said, voice kind. We'll talk through this. Then you'll feel better. I knew what check-ins were now, guided conversations where I left believing my discomfort was a misunderstanding. Where he walked me back into the same place but with softer walls. I'm going to take a shower, I said, pulling my hand away. Okay, he said immediately, too quick. I'll wait. Upstairs, I locked the bathroom door. The lock clicked, small, flimsy, symbolic. I turned on the water so it would cover any sound and opened Leah's notebook in my bag, hands shaking. I wrote, he sent messages from my phone. He told Mrs. Klein. He audits receipts. He showed up at the cafe. He added check-in. Then I did the thing I hadn't let myself do before. I opened my settings and looked for devices connected to my account. A list appeared: phones, tablets, a laptop. And then one I didn't recognize. A small device name, bland and forgettable, like it was designed not to be noticed. My throat tightened. I clicked it. The last location pings weren't mine. They were inside my house. In the hallway. Near the office. Near the bedroom. I stared at the screen while the shower ran, water pounding like distant applause, and I understood, with a clarity that made my hands go numb, why my phone battery drained faster and why he always knew where I'd been. Downstairs, Ethan's voice floated up, calm and affectionate. Babe? He called. You okay in there? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the next thing on my screen was a button that said, Remove Device. And I had no idea what he would do the moment I pressed it. My finger hovered over Remove Device the way it had hovered over cliffs and toggles before, like the air itself might push back. Downstairs, the floor creaked. Ethan moved with the soft certainty of someone who believed the house belonged to him. Babe? He called again, gentle. Don't use all the hot water. I locked the screen instead of pressing the button. Not yet. Knowledge first. That had become my rule. I rinsed the shampoo from my hair, turned off the water, and wrapped myself in a towel. The mirror fogged, then cleared, then fogged again. My face looked the same. That was the strange part. Nothing in the mirror showed the machinery. When I came downstairs, Ethan was on the couch with his laptop open, posture relaxed, the picture of patience. He looked up and smiled like a man who had waited exactly as long as he planned to. Feel better? He asked. Yeah, I said, and sat in the armchair across from him instead of beside him. It felt like a small rebellion, the kind you could deny later if you needed to. He closed the laptop halfway. Let's talk, he said, warm. I hate when we go to bed misaligned. Misaligned. Like parts in a machine. I need space, I said. He nodded immediately. Of course. That's healthy. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. How much space? I thought of the device pinging from our hallway. Of messages sent in my voice. Of calendars edited into obedience. Enough to think without being tracked, I said. His smile thinned, not angry, precise. I'm not tracking you, he said. That word keeps coming up. I met his eyes. Then you won't mind if I change my passwords? Silence. The air thickened, as if the house was holding its breath. Ethan sat back. Why would you want to do that? Because they're mine. He tilted his head. We agreed on transparency. I didn't agree to being edited, I said, and my voice surprised me by staying steady. He watched me for a long second, recalculating. Then the warmth returned, brighter, almost convincing. You're stressed, he said softly. Anyone would be after yesterday. Let's not make permanent decisions in a temporary moment. Temporary. As if years could be brushed away like crumbs. I'm going to stay with Leah for a few days, I said. The sentence landed like a dropped plate. Not loud. Irreversible. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't stand. He smiled the way people do when they are trying not to scare a child. You don't need to do that, he said. We can work this out here. I'm leaving tonight, I said. He exhaled, slow. Okay, he said too quickly. If that's what you need. He reached for his phone. I'll add it to the calendar. Don't, I said. He paused. Why? Because I'm not asking permission. The word permission hung between us like a bell that had finally been rung. He set the phone down. At least let me drive you, he said. It's late. No. Then share your location. He tried, gentle again. Just so I know you got there. No. A flicker crossed his face, not rage. Something colder. You're making this adversarial, he said. I've always acted in your best interest. I stood. My legs trembled, but they held. You acted in your interest, I said. You just called it love. For a moment neither of us moved. Then Ethan nodded, slow and deliberate, as if accepting a verdict he intended to appeal. Take whatever you need, he said. We'll revisit this when you're calmer. Upstairs, I packed quickly, clothes, charger, the notebook, my passport from the drawer where it had always lived. I hesitated at the nightstand, then took my phone and did what I should have done months ago. I pressed remove device. Nothing exploded. No alarms. No footsteps. Just a quiet confirmation and a list that shortened. My battery stopped draining. Downstairs, Ethan was in the kitchen, wiping a counter that didn't need it. I'll text you, he said lightly, as if this were a grocery run. Don't, I said. He looked up. I worry. I know, I said. That's why this has to happen. Outside, the neighborhood lights glowed politely. Mrs. Klein's porch light blinked on like a knowing eye. I put my bag in the car, heart pounding, and drove away without looking back. At Leah's, the air felt unowned. I slept in a room with a lamp that didn't match anything and woke to silence that belonged to me. In the morning, I changed every password. Email. Banking. Cloud. Social. I removed shared calendars. I bought a new phone with cash and left the old one powered down in a drawer like a shed skin. Ethan's messages came anyway, measured, reasonable, full of concern. He asked for check-ins. He suggested counseling. He apologized without naming anything specific. He sent screenshots of our calendar, empty now, like a house after furniture is removed. I didn't argue. I documented. Leah helped me call a lawyer who specialized in quiet exits. Jenna let me use her office to print forms. My sister sat with me while I opened a new bank account and felt my hands shake at the idea of money that did not report back. When I returned to the house, weeks later, it was daytime and I wasn't alone. The polite smiles watched from porches. Ethan stayed calm, cooperative, wounded in a way that played well to witnesses. He handed me a box of things he said he'd kept safe. Safe. In the bedroom, the door still clicked shut. I noticed it and smiled, small and private. The sound no longer meant anything. I moved into a small apartment with crooked art. My phone battery lasted all day. The calendar stayed blank unless I filled it. The quiet came without the sound of keys. Sometimes, when I pass my old street, the houses look the same. Innocent. The kind of place people trust. I don't hate it. I just know better now. Love didn't break loudly. It tightened. And freedom, I learned, isn't a dramatic escape. It's a series of small refusals that finally add up to a life. I keep the notebook in a drawer. Not to relive anything, just to remember that my voice exists on paper, unedited. And when my phone buzzes now, I check it because I want to.